today. Just to give you a little background on how I met this gentleman. I came to California a year ago, a little over a year, about 15 months, and I was looking for recovery. I went to detox. After a month in detox, I went to Wish Recovery, and I met this gentleman. Ever since I met him, he has been a positive role model. He's helped me when I got to the point where couldn't help myself, and I'm very grateful. I'm happy to have him on. Everybody, welcome Jeff. So, Jeff, let's just give the listeners and viewers a little background on yourself. What brought you to California? How Oklahoma? Because you are from Oklahoma, and just go from there.
Okay, so what brought me to California is, man, anybody from California or Oklahoma knows how it is, and being in the addiction cycle, you know, um, that's what brought me to California. You know what I mean? I started out, because uh, at an early age, getting drunk, smoking weed at 14, drunk at 12. Mom had a bunch of parties, seeing my mom drinking, you know, seeing my dad drinking when I was, I can remember my dad being drunk at 5 years old. You know what I mean?
Were your
And
father in your life your whole time?
he was in my life, but like on and off. You know what I mean? Like every other weekend or every month. You know what I mean? He tried to be there, but I don't know. I think after we got older, after I got older, we kind of just doing our own thing. You know what I mean? Even though he tried, but him and my mom got divorced, and so they,
Stuff happened.
yeah, stuff happens.
So, how many? Just so the viewers know, how many brothers and sisters do you have? How big is your family?
Um, my dad's side and my mom's side put together, I got three sisters and four brothers.
Wow.
So, and all of them, up until recently, just we're all in an addiction, alcoholism, addiction. You know what I mean?
Would you say that addiction was biological, something that happens because of your family, or is it more of a situation type of?
Like a generational.
It's a generational. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, generational. Growing up, seeing my mom partying, granted, anybody knows, as kids, you want to be like your mom and dad. You know what I mean? So, when you see them drinking, that's what you're gonna end up doing. You know what I mean? And that's what I ended up doing. That's what my brothers ended up doing. You know what I mean? I mean, but alcohol was one thing. But I, at an early age, me and my twin brother I got a twin. Me and him got introduced to methamphetamine at an early age, 14,
That's
by my older brother. You know what I mean? And and I didn't even know what the hell meth was. He was just like, "Here, try this." I didn't know what speed was. I was 14 years old. You know what I mean?
You said this was by your older brother,
One of my oldest brothers.
and it's crazy how your siblings can play a major part in addiction. Like people don't understand what they do by offering something so crucial as an addiction to somebody so young and innocent.
Yeah,
So
and it's what sucks is, like, he's supposed to be my brother's keeper. You know what I mean? That's what I'm a brother's keeper because I got a little brother and little sister, and we did not play that part with them. You know what I mean? We did not pursue it. We did not here, sissy, here, little brother, try this out. You know what I mean?
mm,
Me and my twin, we knew what it did to us. Why would we want to do that to our little brother and sister? You know what I mean? And after, and it took its toll. You know what I mean? For that one bump lasted 35 years. You know what I'm saying?
all it takes is one.
35 years, and I don't some and at first, when I first got to California, I was really like, I didn't even know what resentment was. I didn't even know what I didn't even know I had a problem. You know what I mean? Whenever I started working my steps while I was in detox by myself, but I couldn't never get past the third step.
And
You
that's a
know,
big one. You're right, because the third step's a step that you need rigorous honesty, and a lot of times in early recovery, you don't know how to be honest. Like it took me a long time just to be honest with myself, unless somebody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what I mean? The therapy sessions were good, but I needed more. You know what I mean? I mean, at 35 years of active drug addiction, I needed more for myself. You know what I mean? And I wanted more. I just didn't know, I didn't have the guidance then to pursue more. You know what I mean?
Keep going.
As far as like at that time, you know what I mean? And while I was in detox, I was, I wanted to come home. 2 weeks into it, I wanted to go home. I thought I was on that pink cloud. You know what I mean? I was healed. I was cured. You know, I wanted everybody to see how good California was. You know, I wanted to see everybody to see me sober, but I was only 2 weeks sober, and God had a different purpose for me. You know what I mean? And at at 30 days, I was seeing the guys that I came in with. You know, my set of crew of detoxes. You know, come in with them. And I seen them leaving, and that made me want to leave more. You know what I mean?
No, I know. Just for myself, when I came out here, it wasn't really until I got to Wish where I seen the fruits of this labor. You know what I mean? And you were a big example of that. You came, you saw, you did, and you became a lot different than what you came. You became a man. You know what I mean? Like that's one transition that recovery does. Takes boys and turns them into men.
Yeah.
So, so I want them to know more about Oklahoma. How is the demographics of Oklahoma? How is it hard to stay, not take for granted there's drugs everywhere, and remaining sober is, like I said, it takes a recovery. But in Oklahoma, what makes it even harder for somebody to get out? Because you were born and raised in Oklahoma, and I know a lot of people where I'm from Jersey, who just can't see themselves out of Jersey. Was that a problem for you?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like sobriety, the resources in Oklahoma ain't I mean, not even an eighth of how it is in California. You know what I mean? I mean, like if we had half the resources in Oklahoma that California does, you know what I mean? Oklahoma would be a better state. You know what I mean? We wouldn't have Oklahomans coming out of Oklahoma saying the heck with Oklahoma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, and it took for me to get out. I was defeated, depressed, lonely. You know what I mean? I wanted different. Didn't know there was different. Didn't know there was even sobriety. You know what I mean? But I seen one friend take a step, come out here to California and get sober. Seen one. She come back to Oklahoma, and then when I seen her sober, you know, I looked at her and said, "That's what I want. I
Did the
want to be
same
sober.
thing.
You know what I mean? I
Did the
want to be
same
sober.
thing.
I want that. You know." And so she was only in town for like a week. You know, and it's not like she was coming back. She wasn't like my detox was whenever I was there trying to come back to show everybody what sobriety is. You know what I mean? She come back just to see her family and bounce. But when I seen her, it's like, that's what I want. You know what I mean? And so she come back out there and got me into a detox. You know, and the same detox she went through. You know, and here I am, 28, 20, almost 20, 667 days sober. You know.
Now, let everybody know your journey.
Okay, so the start of my journey, or is it, okay, so
You can pick up where you left off, but when you came to California, your journey began to shift.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
okay. So what actually shifted for me in my start of my journey is when that plane took off. You know, it I looked out the window and I was smiling. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Because you know what I mean. But still, I was still hyper vigilant. I still had trauma issues. Honestly, I thought I was going to be come out here and get sex trafficked. I didn't know what the hell was going on. You know what I mean? Sobriety and me, there was no similarities. It was all but differences. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But so I come out, got the detox, and like I said, I was on the pink cow, wanted to come home. 30 days into it, my insurance had it was start of the new year. My insurance relapsed, or it was not activated. You know what I mean? So like, and I was like, what am I going to do? Well, the detox was like, Jeff, we could send you home, but we got God's got something else for you. You know what I mean? And I didn't know really. I was just at that time I was kind of like in and out. It's still kind of had half-assed into it, you know what I mean? Still, because I still wanted to come home, you know what I mean? Because shoot, I hadn't been hardly anywhere. I mean, other than away from home, you know what I mean? Just always been
It
home.
was a big change, like
Yeah,
Cali
big
compared to
big
anywhere.
change. You know what I mean? So once I they told me they weren't going to send me home. They're going to keep me for another month till my insurance got activated or was active. You know, and so I'm like, all right. So I'm seeing another set of clients come in. You know what I mean? Getting detox. And for both instances, both crews that I was with, I mean, I got close to every one of them. You know what I mean? And and then it's my time to go. We did some tours, ILP tours, you know. I still didn't know what ILP was, you know what I mean? I still didn't know the second phase of,
Intensive outpatient
yeah,
program.
I still didn't know the second phase of it all. You know what I mean? I didn't know what I was getting into, you know? Still had, I've been to like maybe 2 meetings. The detox took me to a couple meetings. And I got my 30-day chip and actually I didn't get my 30-day chip because I was too scared to get up there and stand up.
Really?
You know what I
It's a
mean?
little different. Everybody's staring at you. You kind of sit
You
there
know
like,
what I
oh,
mean?
yeah.
So, but when I got back to the detox, one of the texts was like, Chip, what are you doing? You got so much to offer, you know what I mean? And that's where your growth comes in, is when you stand up there and you can be vulnerable in front of everybody. And just all you gotta do is stand up and say, hey, 30 days sober, you know what I mean? So that following Monday, I went to another meeting, got a chip, went to another meeting Tuesday, got another chip, you know? So and then that was like probably the only 2 chips I got for that another 6 till 57 days till I got
Mhm.
to ILP. You know what I mean? Because then after that, they didn't take us to normal meetings. But you know what I mean? I still got them chips. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we did a couple tours, and first couple of them I didn't even like. You know what I mean? I was like, you're going to be staying in sober living, come to the program, and you know, I'm like, all right, I can do this. You know what I mean? Just so I was, by the time I was 57 days sober, this free track. By the time I was 57 days sober, I told my detox, y'all gonna have to call the police on me. I'm not going nowhere. You know what I mean?
You didn't want to leave.
We started doing the groups. I got involved with the groups more. I started getting more, taking the vulnerability that I had was coming out. You know what I mean? And I was like flourishing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I was like, look at me now. You know what I
And
mean?
they always say the grass is always greener on the other side. Like when you see yourself in a whole different light, it really empowers you. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like a lot of people don't understand that in addiction, when you cross over to recovery, a lot of things become brighter. Your life becomes brighter. Your skin becomes brighter. You're taking showers now. You know what you change your underwear with. You know what I mean? It's just certain things that you lacked before that you really want to indulge in. But you have to glorify positive.
yeah.
Me in addiction, and even in recovery, a lot of negative comes forefront, and you do not know how to handle it on a sober mind. Now, for yourself, how was the transition from going from methamphetamine to sobriety, spirituality, and becoming a productive person?
Um,
That's a rough question.
yeah. That's a good one too. You
No, it
know.
is because I asked it because I think about I'm gonna answer that myself.
Okay, so like first of all, after through my whole life, you know, the dark side of me being a drug addict, you know what I mean? Uh, shooting up, and when you're doing that stuff, it takes you away from God. You know what I mean? No matter what you're doing, alcoholism, all the drugs, whatever drugs it is, whatever alcohol it is, you know what I mean? It takes you away from God. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, you could pray to God, you know, come help me, but then 3 days later, take a step back. Well, he's going to take 2 steps back. You know what I mean? And that's real shit. He's going to take 2 steps back until you're like, until he sees you want to come back to him. You know what I mean? And then he's gonna be like, hey, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Just because I took a step back doesn't mean I'm not here. You know what I mean?
And just not to cut you off, but if you think of the footprint spirit, a wise man once said to me, because I didn't know what was wrong in my life. I was homeless. I was in a shelter in Newcastle, PA, and the pastor looked at me and he said, "You know what your problem is? You're a bright boy, but you're trying to walk side by side with God. when you need to follow in his footprints.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to sit back and think like self-will lead you into damnation. And it always does.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a year sober out here, a little over, and I relapsed. I look at it as a lot of time in life, you look at things too good, look at things too bright, when that's the devil in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a real person to say, all right, am I going to answer the door? I'm going to just let it go by.
Yeah.
It doesn't take a bad person to answer that door. It's what you do after the fact.
Yep.
And that's a lot with you. You know what I mean? It's what you've done after the fact. I know I keep cutting you off when it comes down to production and coming out to California, but people really need to understand. And you mentioned it before, and I'm surprised you ain't mentioned it now. Maybe I'm cutting it off, but you said you did have a twin. Now, one of the beautiful things about recovery is that your energy draws on other energy. So I'm not going to put it out there, but I know something special happened, and people should understand because now my brother's out here. He followed me.
Okay.
And I ain't even telling my brother how to get out here. He's in Palm Springs doing what he have to do.
Okay.
But see, this is where the same example for you happened with me.
Okay.
But
So
it took.
that gives me the chills, bro. That gives me the chills.
No, really.
Okay. So
And I ain't tell you that.
only this, a few people know, that's part of my recovery and that's been there, like Darren, know what it took for me to get my brother out here. So I know what he went through to get his brother out here and was trying to get him out there, you know, out here. And when you got siblings coming out here and getting sober, I mean, there is no other better thing than that. You know what I mean?
There's no justification.
No.
You know you're doing something right.
You know what I mean?
No, honestly.
And it took me like my twin brother, you know, it's like, so all my life we done drugs together. And whenever I finally was like, come on, bud, I need you to come out to California, you know. Forget about this, but we've been doing that for 30 some years now. Forget about that. Let's try something new. Let's try, come out here to California and I want you to see how good sobriety is. You know, and at that time he was, we was on the phone and he was still in his addiction, but he was like, if you you're still the same guy that you're still that same guy that was here before you left. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just trying to use me. You're just trying to take advantage of me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He had, I mean, you and your kinfolk is probably about the only people that's gonna have some ill feelings towards you, no matter what. No matter what. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean,
That's your brothers.
and yeah, you know what I'm saying. So until I went home, finally went home to California or to Oklahoma, he seen me sober.
Mm.
And then he was like, that's what I want. You know what I mean? I want what you got. All you got to do is give a chance, but come on. I've been trying to get you out for months now. And then, after I went home in May 2024, he was out here in July 2nd, 2024.
And
You
that's
know what I
God
mean?
bless. Honestly. Like, you gotta understand, he's still with it.
Yeah. And he's coming up to 15 months sober now. You know what I
And
mean?
everybody, you must understand, when Lance came out here, we were getting out the program. He was my head of the house. So we were waiting for the van to come or the Uber. But Lance came, got dropped off to use the gym, but you had to see the look on his face. The look of inspiration, the look of happiness, the look of not having to worry no more. You know what I mean? That's a big change, is where you don't have to worry no more. You know something is gonna happen because you come out here with blind faith. I came out here just like I said, that plane ride when you see everything turn into clouds, my heart was down still on
Yeah.
like I didn't know what to expect. I thought I was gonna get set traffic. I thought this. I was happy. Should I have had that much fun in my life? You think I'm gonna say no to this? But coming out here, the power of friendships. I mean, everybody's not gonna be your friend, but the people that you cherish in life, you always see them stick through the bitter end. You know what I mean? Your brother gonna be there with you to the bitter end. A lot of people don't understand is that we are, as older brothers, our brother's keepers, our sisters' keepers.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let them go. You know what I mean? Because left to their own devices, just like myself, I'm dead. But it takes a unit. You know what I mean? Like, listen, I'm not perfect. Nobody in here is perfect. All we can do is pray for perfection, hope for happiness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're not the same person I met a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like you got a lot of positive things. What are your future aspirations? Like, what are you doing now to better yourself and get you ready for the future?
Um, well, okay, so I'm gonna take it back to when I was 18 years old, just finishing high school. My dad, my dad had just embedded in me and Lance. Once you finish school, you go to school. So, he tried to get us into a trade school. We had different we wanted to run our wheel still, you know what I mean? We didn't know nothing about God's will yet. So, but now my future, I'm, I'm still working my recovery. I'm in my second semester of college, you know, addiction studies, I'm about to I'm working towards my KDAX, trying to get my counselor's degree, you know what I mean? And I mean, right now I'm in IOP working and I see the struggle every day, but I'm helping them then, but I want to be more help, to them, like being in a group setting, you know what I mean? Not just coming in a group, making sure everybody's there or trying to make sure everybody's getting the group or, you know what I mean? I want to be there. I want to be right next to him. You know what I mean?
It's a lot different.
Yeah.
Hands on. A lot of times, people, well, I know for myself, I feel like I'm being taught to instead of really being helped. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that. I got that from my grandmother and grandfather half my life. I don't need it now. You know what I mean? I like for people to relate to my struggles instead of tell me about my struggle. And that's a big thing. But you still got more inspiration. I'm not talk too much, so I'm just gonna let you finish your story because my thing is, people really do not understand the inspiration and hope that comes out of recovery. You know what I mean? And a lot of time we all take it for granted, and that's how either relapse, death, institution, jail. There's only certain outcomes to just ill manners. But I know for you, oh, I have a question. When's the last time you've been on a scooter? Got a nice little story about Jeff. Jeff jumps on a house-made scooter, goes down to go to the store somewhere. Next thing you know, he comes back with half his body scratched up. Tell that man never drove a scooter before, but it was happy times. I will never forget it. You know what I mean? Like that's one thing that reinforces my ability to want to remain or even become sober. It's good times.
It was happy for him, but he's not the one that got busted up. And
No, it was.
Right. So that was the last time I rode a scooter, and not only did it was the last time I got in trouble for riding that scooter because it was one of my clients' scooter,
That's right. I remember that.
and so instead of getting back up, I'm calling my boss. I'm on my way to the hospital. He's like, what happened? I'm telling him I rode a client's scooter. He was like, oh, Jeff, you're not supposed to ever do that. Don't ever do that again. Instead of helping me up, it's like you kicking me down. But it's not.
I sit on the bed and telling him, don't ever do that again.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, man. But I see that side of it. You know what I mean? It was a liability issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
bro.
was not supposed to be on no client's scooter or bicycles.
And you're worth more productive than you are laying in bed with your foot up. But
You know what I mean? And I called my girlfriend and I had a big old lump right there. Oh, she was like, "Is that real?" You know what I mean? She thought it. She thought
ball.
she thought it was what do you call it? Edited or something.
And he only made it down the block. Literally, he jumped, and got tripped on the curb. It was terrible. But I really admire this because it just shows the inspiration of recovery. For okay, what do you think would be the right path for somebody that wants to come out here for recovery? And what would be a great topic after you state that? What would be a great topic to bring the listener? Something to talk about that would help struggling addicts.
Um. So what?
It's okay.
So what you want to do?
So,
What?
what would be the path that you suggest for somebody that's coming out to California for recovery?
Just the only path. Everybody's got their own journey. Nobody's journey is gonna be the same. You know what I mean? And just like what Paul was saying earlier. We can't want it more than anybody else. You know what I mean? Because no matter how much, we're gonna spend too much time trying to fix people you know, some don't want to be fixed. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Some
Some
don't
still,
have.
some don't know how, and some still in the struggle, you know what I mean? But, so if just giving the journey a shot, just giving it a chance, you know, start, you know what I mean? And get into the 12 steps of AA, any kind of AA, NA, MA, CA, you know, HA,
Yes, they got everything now.
you know what I mean? I've got, I was at a meeting the other day and they were talking about, well, I'm not gonna bring it up, but the thing is like, there's nothing that the 12 steps in a meeting or even a sponsor, the fellowship of it all. You know, the fellowship of it all, that's where it's at. You know what I mean? Because you ain't gonna find that kind of fellowship in a bottle. You ain't gonna find that kind of fellowship in a pipe. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna find it anywhere close to like that because whenever I'm waking up having using dreams or thinking about picking up a joint or something like that, I call my sponsor. You know what I mean? Haven't had my sponsor for 19 months now. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, what are you doing that you should be doing that you're not doing that you need to go back to doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
What are you missing?
well, yeah, you know what I mean? And at that time, you know, I started craving weed, but but one of my classes in my addiction study classes was one of our assignments was about weed. You know what I mean? So and I started having that obsession of it. You know what I mean? And so whenever I called him, I said, I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know why I'm wanting to just go pick up a joint or go get some weed and get high. You know what I mean? He's like, and that's when he told me, what are you doing, not doing? You should be doing. You should quit doing. You know what I mean? And and it dawned on me. Like, he goes, how many meetings you been to this week? You know what I mean? One. How many times you picked up your Bible this week? Once. Okay then. You know, that's the devil trying to get to you. Don't, whatever, you know, we all got the same, I mean, we can have similarities and differences, but there's one thing that we all got, and that's the mind. We got the mind of addiction or alcoholism, and it's always there. You know, you might have 3 months sober, 22 months sober, 3 years sober. You know what I mean? Sometimes them thoughts, them cravings, they go just gonna hap up and sneak in and bite you in the boo boo. And just be like, hey, that's the devil trying to say, you know what I mean? Or it could be God saying, hey, it's still there. You know what I mean? It's still here. You know, I'm gonna look at it in a positive side. So hey, it's still here. You know what I mean? You need to work on what you should be working on more. That you know, pick up that Bible that you quit picking up, you know, a week ago. You know what I mean? And get back into it because you're falling off. You're falling back.
It be the little things.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So like, and that's one thing that I don't think I could make it without the rooms of AA. You know, we're in that. You know what I mean? I mean, I would be lying to you if I sit there and say, yeah, I can make it. You know what I mean? But that'd be my will talking. You know what I mean?
You know what I get hung up on? Trying to pick and choose who's being honest and who's not. You ever get in the rooms and you start listening to people's stories, and then me being an opinionated person that I am, you know, half on, half off narcissist, I start looking at people and I start saying, okay, well, I wouldn't do that. That's your story. My story is unique. Now, we all know damn well there's nothing unique about any one of our stories because we
No.
all have the same struggle.
Yeah.
But it takes arrogance, ego, and just I'm not even gonna say stupidity, but like I said, when it comes down to narcissist traits, there's some stupidity in it. So I don't know. I guess I don't have resentment with the room. I just wish I was more open to the information that it was given. Because then I wouldn't be put in a position that I've been put in.
Well, bro, you know I'm gonna wait right here. You're the only way. You're the only person that's getting in the way of that. You know what I mean? And that's your ego. It's the big ego. The big ego is telling you. No, you know what I mean? All you gotta do is be open minded. Listen. Just like old Paul said. Listen. You know what I mean? Shut up and listen. You know what I mean? Keep coming back. You know what I mean? For me, I you can tell like when somebody's got some clean time and whether or not, I mean, once you get some clean time and you're up there sharing your story, you get better at it. But the more sloppy for me, the more sloppy a person is up there, the more truthful
You're right.
it's going to be. You know what I mean? If they up there being sloppy about their share, it's going to be more honest.
It's
You know what I
coming
mean?
from the heart.
It's coming from the heart. You know what I mean? And and that's but then again, we're not we're there for the newcomers. You know what I mean? We're, that's what we're there for. The rooms of AA is for the newcomers. The shares are for the newcomers. The chips are for the newcomers. You
So
know what I mean?
why,
The birthdays are for the newcomers, bro.
in your opinion, I've always heard the NA or AA programs are selfish programs, but it's for the newcomer. How do you distinguish? How do you distinguish? Because my thing is a lot of times I feel what I'm working on is my problem. You know what I mean? And for me to spread my negative energy to another person isn't helping the issue.
No.
I'm just saying it in hypothetical. I'm just saying it to bring up
Okay.
an argument.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people say that what they have to say isn't really that important or has any validity to anything. For myself, I know my intellect. I'm my worst problem. And you have the people that don't want to listen, and it's just what you just said. Close your ears, open your mouth. Oh, I know. Close. See what I said. Close my ears, open my mouth. It's close your mouth, open your ears. It's just the way my mind thinks. But again, it was the cause of where I went wrong in my past because of my intellect. But for somebody who's dealing with somebody like myself, it's hard. Like that was my biggest problem in recovery was my sponsor because he was so outlandish. And but in the long run, who's still sober and who's not? No, I'm not even saying that perception, but you gotta look at it in the layman terms. So who's in the wrong? Him for being arrogant, or me for not being able to listen? It's a hard question.
Well, it's a hard question, but you know what I mean. I mean, like I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I know who your sponsor was, but he did have a little arrogance to him. You know what I mean? And but a lot of it's like you go back to your and reevaluate yourself. You know what I mean? Yep. Yourself.
Your side.
Yep.
I'm not looking at it. Yeah.
Your side of the street. You know what I mean? Because we can only clean our side of the street. You know what I mean? We can't clean his, but I mean, unless you know for a fact he wasn't sold, whatever. You know what I mean?
I mean, but that's not for me to. This is where I analyze a lot, and this is how I try to get my life together. And I suggest it for the listeners: look at everything in a positive and negative standstill, and you'll see the truth out of being honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't sit there and say, okay, he did this, he did that, he did. What did I do to make me feel the way I felt about his action?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm able to look at that now because I'm not in the same mindset. But what tools do you use to keep you from doing it again and again and again? Because it takes.
Steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Work in your program.
Number 4 is a big step. That's the one where you the personal inventory. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Your inventory.
And that was a big thing because when I did my 12 steps, I did all 12. It was just, I felt I was very superficial about my third, fourth, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Now, those are 5 steps out of 12 that you really didn't tackle, honestly. So at the end result,
Okay, so inventory is like your resentments, people that done you bad or that you done bad, you know what I mean? And then that's like digging down in the inside and pulling out like I got 20 almost 22 months sober, and guess what step I'm on? Remember,
fourth step.
I'm on 5.
Oh, you got past the fourth.
Yeah.
But okay, not cutting you off. Now, in that sense, because when I was doing my program and I did my 12 steps, I had a time limit. And I always felt I'm 40 something. I'm going to, okay, you know how old I am. So my whole thing was I can't be rigorously honest if I'm being rushed about things that I really don't know how to be honest with.
Yeah.
You know, trauma.
Yeah. He should never, I mean, honestly, my sponsor told me, as long as you get your 12 steps done by the time you're 2 years old, you're doing good, Jeff. You know, doesn't take, we can, I'll work, stay here and put however long it takes for you to get where you need to be. But as long as you get through them in 2 years, you're doing good. Now, him rushing you, you know what I mean? That's, just like Paul said, you know, the sponsors are supposed to be there for you. You know, you're not there for, I mean, you know what I mean?
I'm there for them, but it's like the police officer. They work for me, but in the same sense, he does too. But this is why I say I have a problem with sponsorship. And I didn't say it before, but I was hinting to it. It's just for the plain fact you don't know where you're gonna get. I look at sponsorship as like applying for a job. If you don't get a right job, you're not gonna stay. Just with the program.
Yeah, that's
You know what I
right.
mean? I've heard a lot of sponsors tell their sponsees, you have to. This should be done. And I don't understand how somebody tell you to take your third or fourth step and give it back like, oh, it's not all done. It is for that part of time. You don't know how trauma appears. It doesn't appear like that. And for you to recognize it, sometimes it could be I mean, I'm not, maybe I'm just giving an excuse. I'm just really, this is, because I'm in a position where I'm going to start getting back to the basics.
Okay,
So you know what I mean? So I'm trying to.
Let me explain this to you, okay? So I'm gonna tell you how my sponsor came at me with, because whenever I was doing my 4 step, I give him 7 resentments. He looks at me as, "Yeah, you got 35 years of active drug addiction. You only got 7 resentments.
That's what I did.
You got 7 resentments and that's it."
That's what I can think of.
Cool. You know what I mean? And I was like, so I'm sitting there thinking, because at that time I wasn't mad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I still didn't get it yet. You got to dig deep. You know what I mean? So, and anybody knows the wish notebooks are like that thick.
Yes.
You know, they're a big good sized notebook. So I started off with my resentments from the front page, one resentment, one person. Second page, another resentment, two second person. You know, mom. First I started off with me because I'm my biggest resentment. You know what I mean? Then it was my mom. Then it was my brother. Then it was, you know, even Creek County, Oklahoma jail cell. You know what I mean? It was them. You know what I mean? And as we're going through my resentments, he goes, "Why you got a Creek County jail? It wasn't my problem. You know, I didn't do anything wrong." He was like, "Jeff, come on now." You know what I mean? And I was like, but I was drunk. You know what I mean? Had resentment because they took me to jail. That was my own resentment. I went to jail. You know, I'm not seeing the full big picture. It was my fucking fault. Or excuse my language. It was my fault. You know what I mean? I did do the wrong. I did carry this act up in the yard. I did public intoxicants, but I got through it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I finished the whole notebook, full of resentments, bro.
Wow, and I remember you had a hard time with that. Even though you were saying, but I was there for it because I was just about to start my program, and you were giving me the rundown on fourth step.
But I do want to tell you. So my sponsor is looking at me like this, looking through the notebook. He's going through all the way to the end. He sets that notebook down and goes, "That's a good start." You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, but that's not counting all the sexual inventory. You know what I mean?
That's why I say rigorous.
And that's why I didn't know. You know what I mean? So there's like, you got to get down through there, bro. If you want to make it through them steps and be a good sponsor, the sponsor's going to take his time with you, let you do it on your own. You know what I mean? And then be there for you, just like Paul said. Be there for you, and be like, and call you out on your bullshit. You know what I mean? And then be in your ear. You know what I mean? And there's nothing better in the rooms, the fellowship of AA or not NA. You know what I mean? Because whenever I walk in the Valley Club and my sponsor's sitting right there, and I know where he's going to be as soon as I walk in there. And if I'm in there 30 minutes early, he's coming out to the car. Come on, I want you to meet somebody. You know what I mean? And then that's what it is. But when I do walk through that front door and he's standing right there, the first thing he does is get up. Yeah, you know what I mean? He's getting up.
But see, I would like that. It gives you encouragement.
Yeah, bro. And there's nothing better than that because not only, and then when he's saying yeah, everybody's looking at him, seeing who he's yelling at or for. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately go give him a hug. Love you, brothers. What he says. Love you, Jeff. You know what I mean? And then I turn around and I introduce myself to everybody there. You know what I mean? And then like and I've been going to this same meeting for 17 months now, 18 months.
Valley.
Valley Club, you know, the Saturday LOL meeting. And I go up to everybody and everybody knows me by name, you know what I mean? Not too long ago, I went home. I went back to Oklahoma in July. And I missed the flight, missed my flight. And I missed my flight on purpose, you know what I mean? I mean, because I wasn't ready to come back yet. I was still.
Wait, that was the first time you go home, or
No, this is the second time.
Oh, you went again?
Yeah, I went back just this past July. So when I went back, I was like, I didn't have no issues or anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why would you feel like it?
I don't know. I just wanted another day there, you know what I mean? Because, bro, I went back home and there was like, everybody still stuck in the same hell as I
Not
left.
anything different.
You know what I mean? So, but I booked the flight for the next day, you know, got on the plane and whenever that day I was headed up to the airport. Not the day that I missed. That was my actual flight. I was getting on there and I was coming back. Somebody from the Valley Club calls. Jeff, are you okay? You know what I mean? And I don't think I would get that from anywhere else.
Yeah,
Not
that means
other
a
than
lot.
the room. You know what I mean?
That means a lot.
And I just now found out, and this was June, July, August, September, just 3 months ago, who it was. I just found out like 2 weeks ago who it was. That called. You know what I mean? It wasn't my sponsor. You know what I mean? Because I was still in communication with my sponsor. But my girlfriend was there crying around. She didn't know what was going on. She thought I had relapsed, and you know what I mean? And she thought I was staying because I told her I missed my flight. You know, so she didn't know what was going on. And then they're calling me. You know.
But see, that's special.
You know what I mean? And that's the powers of AA. Just like I say, you're not gonna get that in a bottle. You're not gonna, you know, and that's the fellowship of it all. You know what I mean? Once you make it through them steps, and it's more to the fellowships when it comes to the AA and the rooms.
I must say, it's been an amazing topic today. It's been a great show. Before I leave you, I just want to give our viewers an opportunity for you to give them some just words of wisdom.
Um, let go of what is. No, let go of what was, accept what is, and have faith in what will be. You know what I mean?
Mm.
If you get out your head, you know what I mean? And it's like I said, told you earlier, and this for myself, I'm gonna be the only one that's stopping me. I'm the only one that's gonna keep me sober. I'm the only one. If I get out the way, you know what I mean? I'm gonna stay sober. You know what I mean? If I get out of my will, I'm gonna stay sober. You know what I mean? So I mean, a lot of it's our willpower. A lot of people don't know what that is yet. When you're new in recovery, you start working on your inside. You know what I mean? The outside. Here's this. Everybody that I've seen come in new always tries to work on the outside first. You know, and try to make everybody make them see different. Like they're good. You know what I mean? I mean if you wash the inside of the cup first, you know, if you wash the inside, the outside gonna come clean too.
You're right.
You know what I mean? And that's
You're
what
right.
it is. So, you know.
I want to leave them with that. What you say? The past, present. It sounded so much better.
Let go of what is, accept what was, and have faith in what will be.
It's a very amazing topic. That is an amazing quote. And the reason I say that is because people sometimes don't understand that it really isn't that important. Life, sobriety, just making it, surviving is important. This is Breaking Boundaries. I'm Derek. Jeff, my man, it was a pleasure. To all my viewers, like, subscribe, and share. Again, peace, love, and tranquility. Until next time. Oh my God.
Let's go, man.
We got